Hansel and Gretel, Food Spells and Architectural Lure Magic. Welcome back. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11-time published author, and this is the Symbolism series. You're watching the Redacted Magic and the Fairy Tale Code subseries. This is Case Study 4, Hansel and Gretel. This tale is widely remembered for its edible house, the breadcrumb trail, and the cannibal witch. But behind the imagery lies something more serious. Food spells, sacrifice cycles, ritual cannibalism, and architectural enchantment. This is not a story about clever children. It's a story about predation, both spiritual and energetic. This is Food Spells and Architectural Lure Magic. If you strip it down to basics, Hansel and Gretel is the story of two children abandoned in the woods by their parents during a famine. They come upon a house made of sweets, begin to eat it, and are captured by a witch who intends to cook and eat them. Gretel outsmarts her, shoves her into the oven, and the siblings escape with treasure. That's the modern version. What it omits is the deeper structure, one that involves starvation magic, baited architecture, breadcrumb timelines, and a tale of energetic entrapment and reversal. Like the other fairy tales we've studied so far, this one is not a fable, it's a survival code. Let's go back to the Brothers Grimm's 1812 version, one of the earliest recorded. In this version, Hansel and Gretel live with their father and stepmother. Famine hits. The stepmother convinces the father to abandon the children in the woods because there's not enough food. The first time, Hansel drops white pebbles and they return home. The second time, he uses breadcrumbs, which birds eat. Lost in the forest, they come upon a house made of bread, cake, and sugar. A woman invites them in, feeds them, and then reveals herself to be a witch who eats children. She locks Hansel in a cage and forces Gretel to cook. Eventually, Gretel pushes the witch into the oven and frees her brother. Let's stop right here. This isn't a story, it's a ritual layout. To decode it, we start with the premise, famine. In symbolic systems, famine is not just physical, it's spiritual. Famine represents the withdrawal of sustenance, truth, love, nourishment. In magical allegory, it often indicates a cultural or familial breakdown in support. When the environment becomes energetically starved, children, representing potential or soul fragments, are sacrificed. The abandonment by parents is not just cruelty, it encodes the recurring cycle where the old generation, under pressure, gives up the young to survive. This abandonment leads to the forest, a universal symbol of the unknown, the unconscious, or the spiritual wilderness. The children are cast into the unknown because their caretakers are no longer aligned with life force. Symbolically, the forest is not a place. It's a state of disconnection. You go there when the structure breaks. Now we decode the breadcrumbs. Hansel first tries to map a way back using pebbles, hard, mineral, natural elements. This works. The pebbles reflect stable memory, rooted truth. But the second time, he uses breadcrumbs, man-made, impermanent, and edible. The birds eat them. The path dissolves. This is allegorical code. If you try to trace your way back through fragile memory, narratives, illusions, stories you were fed, your path will vanish. Breadcrumbs represent time fragments. When birds, symbolic messengers or predators, eat them, the timeline is severed. The children are now fully lost. Then comes the House of Sweets. This is not an odd detail, it's a spell. The house is edible, made of sugar, bread, cake. In magical systems, food is one of the most common binding tools. You don't just eat nourishment, you enter a contract. From Greek mythology, Persephone eating pomegranate seeds, to folktales worldwide, accepting food from a magical being binds you to their domain. The witch's house is a lure, an energetic trap disguised as safety. The sweetness is inversion. It appeals to hunger but hides consumption. And this house is not just bait, it's enchanted architecture. The house itself is a spell form. Built from symbolic nourishment, it triggers energetic agreement. The children bite the house, literally and metaphysically. They consent to the spell. Only after eating does the witch reveal herself. This reflects real magical law. Enchantment requires consent, even unconscious consent. Now we examine the witch. She is blind. In the Grimm version, she can't see, but she can smell. This is symbolic precision. Sight represents conscious perception. Smell, in symbolism, represents primal detection, animal instinct, base attraction. She can't see the children's identities, only sense their energy. This is important. The witch doesn't care who they are. She only senses nourishment. She is a devourer archetype, a being who consumes life force to sustain her form. In esoteric traditions, witches are not uniformly evil. But the cannibal witch is a specific type. She exists in nearly every culture. Baba Yaga in Slavic folklore, the ogresses of Arabian Nights, the child-eating demons of Hindu tales. These figures represent distorted feminine power, usually born from trauma or vengeance. They consume youth, beauty, or innocence to extend their life. In occult language, this is energy harvesting. Hansel is locked in a cage. Gretel is made to serve. This creates a polarity structure. The masculine is immobilized. The feminine is co-opted into service. This reflects spiritual enslavement, where the soul is split into passive, Hansel, and complicit, Gretel roles. Then comes the core reversal. Gretel, under pressure, turns the trap on the witch. She pushes her into the oven, a symbolic womb, and closes the door. The oven is critical. It is not just a cooking device. In symbolic systems, it represents alchemical transmutation. Heat, time, containment. These are the elements of transformation. By forcing the witch into her own fire, Gretel reverses the energy current. The devourer is devoured. The predator is cooked by her own hunger. This is magical inversion. It teaches that enchantment can be reversed through internal courage, timing, and mirrored action. After killing the witch, the children discover jewels and treasure. Again, not a random reward. In magical structure, treasure always represents stored energy, often ancestral or soul fragments held captive by the dark force. The jewels are what the witch was hoarding, the energy of all the children she had consumed. By defeating her, the children reclaim that energy. Symbolically, they are reclaiming lost inheritance. Then they return home. But their mother, or stepmother, is dead. Only the father remains. This is code for spiritual rebalancing. The distorted feminine, who betrayed them, is gone. The masculine, who was passive but not malicious, is restored. The children return not just with wealth, but with initiated status. They left as sacrifices. They return as holders of knowledge. Now let's zoom out. This tale encodes real magical laws. Famine triggers sacrifice. Abandonment opens spiritual vulnerability. Architecture can be enchanted. Food can bind you. Devourers seek consent through comfort. Breadcrumb timelines disintegrate when not rooted in truth. Survival requires inversion of the trap. Treasure is recovered life force. Home is re-entered only after death of the betrayer. And what happens when this gets redacted? You get a story about candy, cleverness, and teamwork. The horror is softened. The energetic mechanics are erased. The cannibal witch becomes a cartoon. The oven becomes a joke. The story becomes linear. Loss, danger, triumph. But the real story is cyclical. Hansel and Gretel is a spiritual feedback loop. It's about the systems that eat children, literally and metaphorically, about the way comfort is used to bait consent, and how the only way out is through reversal, turning the fire back on the captor. This story was never a lesson in courage. It was a map of how to survive the devouring mother system. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas. 11 times published author and School of Soul has just released one of our most requested deep dives, the Magic and Occult series. This series is not for the faint of heart. It's for those who know there's more going on beneath the surface, behind the media, behind the family, behind the system. This series breaks the spell and hands you the map. The Magic and Occult series includes over 200 videos on 1. Entertainment or ritual. Decoding mainstream media as mass spellwork. 2. Occult families. Spot them. How generational magic and ritual lineage hides in plain sight. 3. Occult symbolism. The signs, seals, and signals used to claim, curse, or command. 4. Esoteric symbolism. Layered meaning, sacred geometry, and encoded messages. 5. Law is magic. How contracts, courts, and language are rituals of power. 6. Spells and spirits. What magic really is, and what happens when you use it. 7. Covens and lodges. Where modern ritual happens, and who's involved. 8. Destiny swapping. How rituals steal timelines, talent, or soul contracts. 9. Energy harvesting. Spiritual parasitism, and how to seal your field. 10. The clairs. Your intuitive senses. Clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and more. 11. Become magical. How to strengthen your gifts, protect your mind, and wield conscious force. 12. Miracles are real, divine intervention, faith portals, and supernatural reversals. 13. The chosen ones. What sets them apart and why they're always targeted. 14. The black sheep, the generational breaker, often isolated by design. 15. Targeted individuals, spiritual and technological targeting of aware souls. 16. Gang stalking, organized spiritual and psychological warfare. This is the most revealing, most spiritually advanced, and most protective series SOS has ever released. If you've ever felt something was off about this world, this will confirm it, and prepare you for what comes next. Your protection begins with knowledge. Join the SOS School of Soul Vault.